So this is the finished greenhouse from GreenhouseKits1. It's a pretty sweet little greenhouse that lasted all 4 seasons here in Buffalo, New York. Right through heavy wind loads, heavy snow loads. We bought it from them, and this whole project, soup to nuts, is going to be under 10 grand, including heaters, doors, roll-up doors, labor, everything. So it's quite the deal. And this video will show you how our assembly process went from start to finish. All right, so what we got going on here, buried electric, gas and water. No, you're fine. What do you think? We're doing 24 foot across to match. So we're doing that quickly in 2x4s. And then we're going to do 96-inch long. We put a drain line through the middle, which will cut those tops off. We've been rolling the property, but we have a little bit of a decline. So when we put in the ground stakes, they're going to be higher at the far end and shorter at the front. We're going to do a line level across them, which we'll explain later. But for us, we're doing a man door. We got 2x4s here to go around the base, and we also have roll-up sides, so we'll have 4 foot up, another 2x4 along the whole 96 foot length. We also have 2x6s, which I just painted ahead of time, which are going to be for the end walls. We got some garage doors, fans, and louvers, which we'll talk about later too. But that's the basics. So the first thing we need to do is lay out that groundwork and get nice level area for the stakes. Just as another little tip, all of the lines are marked. All of the groups of steel piping from GreenhouseKits1.com. So these are listed as purlin. Again, you want to make sure you don't mix them up. We've got more purlins. In our case, we have roll-ups because we have roll-up sides. And then these here were for the cross beams, which again, we made into 15-foot sections. So it's really important not to mix these up and to, look for the label. All right, so for the first step here, we have our short piece, our short bend attached to 3 long bends. So those are the long ones. In the back corner there, we have the short ones. So it's 3 big and 1 short. For our 24-incher, we have our tuck screw with a 5/16 bit, you can see there, and we put that on the inside so it's not on the top because that's where the film's going to be. So that's going to be on the inside of it. So you can see here we're still laying out the top beams, the 3 long and the 1 short. We've got these 40-inch ground stakes that we've been starting to hammer in, starting to level off with line levels to go from the front to the back. Now we have a pretty nasty incline or decline, so the stakes at the front are going to be real short, and the ones in the back at the back of the property will be higher, and then we'll have to fill in that difference with rock as needed. So at this point, we've run a string level, and we have started to put in our poles, marked them with a can of spray paint every 4 feet. Again, we did our 96 foot. We haven't knocked them down in yet, but that's the next step. So again, we got our line levels, making sure everything's nice and straight. Over here, we've got 24 total of these arches, which 24 times 4 gives you your 96, which is where we need to be. This here is the cross brace. That's a little over 15 feet, which is the next one we're going to do after more of these arches. And this one is a, has your long cross brace piece plus the shorter 60-inch piece. If you were curious, the ones that are longer than the stakes but not super long, that connects to the cross brace. And then at the end, they get these little guys here, and then a Tex screw in the side, Tex screw in the middle, and a Tex screw in the side. Now, because this is the cross brace, these ends are going to be exactly the same. You don't want one on this side and one on this side. That's not the case for the wind braces, but for the cross brace that goes across the middle of the greenhouse, you want to make sure those are lined up. So you can see here we're still laying out the top beams, the 3 long and the 1 short. We've got these 40-inch ground stakes that we've been starting to hammer in, starting to level off with line levels to go from the front to the back. Now we have a pretty nasty incline or decline, so the stakes at the front are going to be real short, and the ones in the back at the back of the property will be higher, and then we'll have to fill in that difference with rock as needed. Now for us, we have this auger hooked up to a Kubota to do the post holes. What we're doing, you know, you can just hammer these all in by hand, which is what the manufacturer GreenhouseKits1.com talks about. They recommend if you have high wind or high snow to do the end walls, and for the end walls to put the wooden concrete, which would be the 2x6s that we have. However, for us, our wind is coming in this direction towards the sidewall of the greenhouse, which we really cannot help. So we're going to go every 24 feet, and we're going to bury the poles with concrete. So we got quickcrete concrete we're going to mix, but we're also going to break up a piece of stone and put it underneath the pole. And the reason we're going to do that is because if the snow load is super high and there's a lot of weight, we don't want the pole sinking into the earth. And so if we put them on something hard like a stone, then it prevents it from going down. Now we're also going to put a little bit of concrete in the bottom to prevent it from pulling up with the wind. And what we'll do is we'll take the bottom of this pole and put some screws in crossways so that it can kind of grab on that concrete. So that's what we're doing here for the foundation, just to give a little more of a tip and trick. Okay, so the next thing we run into is as we're slamming in all these pipes, we're definitely screwing up the tops. So we have to use a Sawzall and cut them flush to make it nice and clean, because we have to put connectors or the female swedges into either side. So for us, you can see we have a line level and we've knocked it all in, but now we got to cut the tops off, and that's the next step. All right, so we have our greenhouse main hoops up. So we made that first step, and now it's time to put something called a purlin right down the middle. Now, to find the middle, a real easy way for me is just take a piece of string, tie it to the top, hang something heavy, and find your dead center from left to right. In this case, we're 24 feet across, so dead center is 12. So I'm going to drop that line here and then do it at 2 or 3 more spots down the line, and I'm going to take a piece of string and go from the front to the very back. When we go to put up the purlins, these little end wall ones go on either end. So this will go up there like that, and then there'll be another one at the far end, and then there'll be connectors that hook up to the hoops in the middle, which I'll show you when we start to do it. But we're basically going to take, they come in 10-foot lengths. We're going to start to run the purlins down the center to give some support in the middle, and then after that we're going to do the cross brace across, the purlins down each side, and then the drop downs, which again, those are additional steps we'll go through here in a minute. But this is the first one, is getting that purlin going down the middle of the run. Okay, now you can see we put that little end wall clamp up in there. I screwed it with Tech screws into the very center of the frame, 12-foot equidistance in the middle. I also left the 2 Tech screws loose, so that way I can slide this 10-foot purling in to begin. And you can see that there's a level line going down the middle. And then we have these brackets. Now they face like this so that there's a space in the middle. And there's these bolts that'll come in your box, bolts and nuts. And what you need to do is basically take and put these not on the end, but on every metal beam down the middle. And that sits over the hoop like this, and it holds the purlin in place. Now, it's really important just to maybe leave these loose so you can slide that beam in and do them one at a time if you're by yourself. Even if you have a group of people, it's a lot easier to do these one at a time and just use the swedge end and go male to female down the whole length. So we're going to start to do that and show you the progress. Now here we are putting up that central purlin line. You can see that I'm putting the clamps on either side of the hoop and either side of the pole. I personally like to just take the nuts and tighten them just a little bit so that they're still loose, and then at the very end I'll tighten and adjust. By the way, these nuts back here are 13 millimeter if you have a driver or a wrench, and then you can see my level line is going right between that clamp. So that's what we want to see as we go all the way down. So now that we have the main beam, the main purlin down the middle, we're lining it up. We left everything loose for all these clamps, and so we got those all in. We put in the Tech screws to make sure that these don't pull out of each other lengthwise. And then at the very end, we had to put a 40-incher because each one of these vertical purlins is 10 foot 6 inches, which is just shy of what you need to hit your 96 feet. So the next thing you need to do with these cross braces or with the hoops before you tighten them on the main purling is make sure they're exactly 4 feet from one hoop to the other, because you could hypothetically have them pinched, and if you had them pinched, they wouldn't be a perfect 4 foot equidistance, and then you'd have some major issues. So just like you're 4 foot off center, 4 foot on center for these, you also want to be 4 foot on center for the top before you tighten them. So that is very important. And again, these here are not 4 foot between each one. They're 4 foot on center to the center of each ground stake. That is important too, or else that extra 1 to 2 inches will equal an extra foot or two off by the time you get to the end. All right, so the next thing we're going to put up is the cross beams here, which go across the middle. Again, you want to go first purlin, cross beams, and then we'll do second and third purlin. Now, what you're going to take is these clamps here, and I'm going to show you a trick to make it a little easier. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go down the whole left and right side. We're going to take these clamps and put all the clamps on first. Now, the first thing you'll notice is it's really tough to get those clamps on. You're going to take a mallet like this. You're going to hammer it on. And once you hammer it on, just leave them at the base and then pull them up. Actually slide them up as you go to put the cross beam on. Now, what you're also going to run into is once you hammer these to get them on, this gap is going to open up really wide, and that's going to be a problem. So you're going to have to grab a pair of channel locks or something similar, squeeze that piece together so then you can put your bolt through. So again, we're going to put these all down the one side, all down the other. The center piece is going to be open. We're going to take channel locks and we're going to tighten it up all down the left and right side. And it's 22 of these, by the way, 22 cross beams because we're not doing the ends. So 22 of those down each, down the left and right. We'll get them squeezed in, and then we'll take those cross beams and we'll just lift them up and lock them in on those end pieces. All right, now we put the cross beams from the left to right, but you can see they're all wonky. They're, you know, all different levels. Reason being because we didn't measure them equidistant yet. That's the next step. So what we found is if we go from the very top of the ground stake, which is where our level line is with the ground, and we follow the beam up, it's 9 foot 4 inches to where that cross beam attaches on both sides. So both sides are exactly 9 foot 4 inches. We just measured it so that it was equal, and we kept adjusting it up and down. So 9 foot 4 seems to be the sweet spot. It gives us a nice level surface. And so now we're going to do that all the way down and adjust them all. What we did is we cut pieces of rope to 9 foot 4 inches. We cut a couple of them there, and we're going to actually string them down from here to there to make the adjustments real easy for each side. All right, the next step is to put our left and right purlins, which I'm going to start at the very end here. And we put the same little end bracket that we did for the top purlin for the left and right. So we're going to attach that with Tech screws right here. And then we're going to run it down along the line, and I'll show you how those attach in a minute. All right, so giving a little bit of an update here, we got those center beams that are all in place. We started to put in both the left and right side purlings, which you could see, as well as the top. Now, I want to show you on the side here, you can see how the bottom of the purling clamp is above the center beam, where it should be pressed down against it. Now, we left all the nuts and bolts loose when we did the left and right sides, so we can adjust these down. Now, excuse me there. So on this side, you can see that this one is sitting flush, and that's how it really should sit and be. And then we're going to zip these up and tighten them, and then put the end pieces on for each one of the ends. So that's the next step, and then we will do the drop downs. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is the drop downs. Now, this is one of the long poles with the drop down ends. You can see the way that I screwed it in with a Tech screw to allow for that loop to grab over the very top of the greenhouse. And this spot here, you can drill out and put a bolt in, which if you have any kind of wind or snow, you're going to want to do. But you're going to put the clamp on that side, and that's going to go, starting on the second one, up at that middle section and drop down to the crossbeam. Now this is how long the drop down pole they provided is, which it's like 3 times too long. So you're going to need a Sawzall with a metal cutting section on it to be able to cut that pipe. That is going to be the only way to really do it. So I'll show you in the next video, but basically we're going to clamp it on there, put in our Tech screw to hold it in place, drop down, cut it, clamp it, and then we should be able to be connected. Now for the drop down bracing, you can see I have the top and the bottom that are the same, just like I did with this one here. Now you'll notice that right in the middle, the central purling, it's very difficult to get this clamp in there properly and to drop it down. So you can either go to the left or the right, right off the main hoop, and then drop down to your crossbeam. Now what I'm doing is I'm actually going from left to right to left. So on this side it's on the left, and on, excuse me, it was on the right. So instead of it being here like it was on the last one, I'm going to go here. And then in all instances, I'm going to drop down to the center, which again, I just took a marker and I measured and then cut it off. And it's hard to do it while holding the phone, but I'm going to drop a Tech screw in the front right here, another one in the bottom, and then I'm going to flip to the other side, just like I did with this one, and then put the second half on the back here and the second half on the bottom. Now, instead of putting the whole thing up at once, I find it's better to do one half and then the other half. Okay, we're at the point of putting on the perimeter base lumber, which we just did down the left side, and we're doing on the right. Now, what that gentleman's doing at the end is he's taking a string line, and we're making sure that it's level. So you can see for us, that string line actually starts here, so that's going to be where the very top of the wood is, right near our ground anchor. Now, if your ground is perfectly level, you might be able to just run it along the ground. For us, it's not. So we're running a level, and you can actually see how much space there is underneath there down the line. And because of that, we're going to have to backfill and fill under that wooden perimeter beam to make it work. Now, when you get to the point of doing that, again, you can see on this side, we're nice and level. For us, we use 2x4x8s because of the lowest cost. We sealed them, and you have these screws that come with the GreenhouseKit1.com set. These wood to metal screws, which work pretty good. Just want to throw it out there. You really need a good quality drill, like maybe a Milwaukee impact driver or an electric. A lot of the drills will not put these things in because they take so much weight and force behind them. So you're going to do 2 screws, one on top of the other, and I would recommend putting a line level. And then you're going to have points where you're going to have the 2 pieces of wood butt up. Now, I recommend that, you know, for us, 2x4x8 actually drops them right on the center line, which would be tough because we want to have the strength of that beam there and something to bite onto. So we actually cut the first one down so that way it's offset a little bit. Because again, these are 4 foot on center, which means, you know, every 8 foot is our 2x4x8. So they would normally be right in the middle. With this section here where they connect, I'm going to get metal plates and connect them on the front and back to add additional strength. The manufacturer doesn't talk about that, but you know, it seems like a prudent idea to pull everything together and add additional strength. So that's the perimeter lumber. We're going to do the lower level, and then we're going to do the roll-ups after that, since we have roll-ups on our 24x96 all-season model. All right, so now what we did is we cut a piece of rope that's 4 foot 6 inches. We're leaving it at the very base of the beam, and then we're marking it with a marker. So we got a mark across the top, and that's going to be for our roll-up board. And again, in our case, 24x96 with a roll-up. All right, now as we're putting in this roll-up board, I just want to show one of these hoops was slightly out of line. So when we looked at it, there was a gap in it. It was hard for one person to hold it and screw it in. When that happens, you know, especially if it's just one person, take a ratchet strap and wrap it around it and use the ratchet strap to do the work for you. You can get them at Harbor Freight for a few bucks, and then put your screws in, let the ratchet strap go, and you're good. Now, that can be true with some of these side purlin connectors too. When we were doing those earlier, there was a few of them that were really, really tight, and it might be because we screwed something up, or I don't know. But whatever reason, as things moved down the line, they got really tight at a few spots. So we used ratchet straps to hold it together, and it made it super easy. So for the garage door now, we're doing the header and main drop. And then on the left and right side, we're going to do the 36-inch fans. And then in the corner here, we're going to do the 6'8" man door that we have leaning against the fence. And then, of course, the garage door across the middle. Now, we just finished running the perimeter lumber and the roll-up lumber on the left-hand side. We still need to clean it up a little bit at the very end. But one of the things you'll notice, we started to put up the wiggle wire channel. And so with this, you're going to use the same tech screws that GreenhouseKit1.com provided. And you're going to put them in spaced about 12 inches apart down the whole length. Now, what I did is I cut a little stick that's, you know, little, right about a foot. And what I do is I just pop a screw in and then slide it down the line to the next screw, so I know I'm about a foot apart. And I don't make any, you know, put in too little by chance. I'm also, because I'm the only one doing this, using just a quick squeeze clamp. So I squeeze clamp the end after lining it up and making sure that the two channels connect here as cleanly as possible in between. So that we're going to run along the whole roll up and along the whole perimeter. So that's the next big step. All right, so we have the left beam attached to the end wall frame and hung. It's hanging in a hole. We're making some concrete. We're going to fill it in and go from there. I want to take a minute to talk about the louvers on this side. So you can see we put them in, we slid them up high. We're going to do 1, 2, and 3 in that space. You can see here the metal bar. That needs to face on the outside if your fans are sucking that way. So if you're looking at the fans, not the shutters, the shutters should be always on the fan, should be facing out on those fans down there. So you should be seeing the back of the fans from the inside of the greenhouse, and then on the outside you should see this louver. The reason being, you want the air to suck through and to lift like that. If it went the other way, you'd have a problem. So we screwed that up. We put this one the wrong way. We're gonna have to flip it so that it's got all of these vertical pieces on the outside. All right, so I want to talk to you about where these long side rails for the wiggle wire, for us, for the roll-ups, or if you have the standard one, just the ground level one, where they meet the end. Now, originally, I had thought that they went in like this, but I realized that is not the case. The way it works is that this rail actually butts up to the rail that goes over the end wall like this. So I'm going to take this block out here and take this piece of wood and screw it in on this side and pull it in. And then that's going to give us a nice clean end wall line and for the top of the roll-ups. So again, you can learn from our mistake. This is not the way to do it where it's screwed in here. These screws go in from the end into this long beam. All right, now we're finally ready for the film. Now we have a 2-layer film because we have an all season. So ours is going to be inflated. So the first thing we need to do is take both monster rolls of film, put them on the ground. We're going to roll them out lengthwise, and then we're going to start to pull both layers of film at the same time over the greenhouse from one side to the other. Because we did solid end walls, we're not going to do those first. We're going to go down the main run of the greenhouse. Now this film is incredibly heavy, and it's going to take at least 2 people to get it up and over. But again, first thing we're going to do is unroll it lengthwise so we're the length of the greenhouse, and then we're going to double layer it up and start to pull them over. All right, so now we're going to talk about how to put this film up. So what we did is we went an extra 2 feet on this end, extra 2 feet on the far end. Now if you got the 98 kit, it's a 100-foot roll, so it's 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. So it's super easy. If you have a 24 by 60, you're going to have to cut off that extra material so that you have 2 feet on either end. So the first thing we're doing is laying it out, unaccordioning it, and then you'll see on here that it says on the actual film, this side faces in. It's actually upside down. This side faces in. So that's this side that's facing up. As we take it up and over, that side that says it's going to face in is going to face in on the greenhouse. So we're going to take this end and the far end, we're going to walk it all the way over, and then we're going to let it hang over on the whole greenhouse, and we're going to let it rest. That's the first layer. After we do the first layer, we're going to repeat the same thing with the second layer, pull that over, let it all rest, and let all the points hang over from each end wall, and then we'll go from there. All right, so we managed to get the first layer on. You can see we've got an extra 2 feet on the end. We've got extra material on that side of our hip board. We got the whole guy filmed. And on this side, we also have that extra material all the way down. So we're letting it rest for a minute. Keep in mind that if you have any condensation on your grass and you don't give it a minute to dry, that moisture will stay between the layers if you got a dual layer greenhouse. We're doing it on a very low wind day. We managed to do it with 2 guys, which is quite the challenge. What we had to do is actually take rope and tie it to the corner ends and yank it over very carefully. It took us about 20 minutes to get it over the top. Now on this side, we're going to pull, we got 2 layers of film. We're going to pull the bottom layer towards us first, then the top layer for all we're worth. And we're going to try to pull it tight as a drum, starting at the center with the wiggle wire working to the left and to the right. And then we're going to keep pulling linearly down and across as we go down the whole line. Now at this point, I'm looking at the far end of the greenhouse, and I started to wiggle wire in the film, which you can see you just take it and you just wiggle it in. It's actually not that, it's hard to do it with a camera, but you just wiggle it in a little bit at a time. So you're going to start from the center and move to the left, and then start from the center and move to the right. And when you do this side, you don't have to worry about it being super tight, because we're going to pull at that end and get it drum tight down the distance of the greenhouse. All right, now any spots where your wiggle wire extends beyond the channel at the bottom, just take some type of bolt cutters or heavy duty wire clippers and just clip it off and press the piece in there. Now you can see on this side, we wiggle wired in the hip board. We're going to go to the other side and pull it taut. All right, and we have both end walls done. Now we went to the middle of the greenhouse and we put 1 wiggle wire section in right in the middle. Now we're going to go to, what we're going to do next is go to the other side and pull tight, so we have something that's holding firm, so we have something to pull against to get it tight as a drum going from left to right over the top. Now you can, if you notice on ours, we did it on the hip board. We're going to leave the bottom disconnected because it's the summer, and we're going to do the roll-ups. So we're going to do hip boards left to right down the whole line as we tighten from the other side and pull. All right, now we have the far side hip board completely in. We've got both sides completely in. Now at this point, what we need to do is take and cut off the extra film. So we have all this extra film, and I like to leave a couple inches, like maybe 2 inches past the wiggle wire, and leave that exposed, leave that always there. It's not enough that it's going to be an issue in the wind, but it will give you a chance to have something to grab onto if you ever have to pull and tighten this and just adjust and fix it. Once this inflates, which we'll talk about later, it's going to take out all these little tiny creases and things, but it is, you know, drum tight across the top and the sides to the point that when it's pulled super tight, it's really hard to get this wiggle wire in because it's pressed so tight against there. So we're going to cut off all this extra film all the way around, and we're going to make sure that we got enough to do our roll-up sides. And yeah, it's really coming along. All right, so we finally have the roll-up sides going here. We put these little clips on by pressing them in place. You can see this is where the perimeter board is. We went just below it, in our case, just a little bit. And you want to make sure it's pretty even down the line, you know, and that it's level. If you, for example, were to take this bar and roll plastic that was this long with this long, what'll happen is as it's rolling up the walls, it'll be uneven. And you want it to come up straight. So what we're going to do is walk to the back and take a quick look at the roll-up mechanism. By the way, I mentioned earlier that the tube was missing for the roll-ups, and I was wrong. It was included by GreenhouseKits1.com. I just missed it. This is the pole that goes inside your roll-up mechanism, the FLC 104, and there's the bolt that we drilled through. I had to drill through the swedged end of the metal on that long roll-up length. So now, as I take and roll it this way, clockwise, you can see the whole bar is going to walk up the wall, and it's going to open up the greenhouse. It's kind of tough to do with one hand here, but as it's rolling, you can see that it's lifting up. And so that's going to allow airflow, and it can go all the way up to this top hit board as long as this pole is long enough, which my property's super low in the back, so I'm probably going to have to do something where I get a longer one. But yeah, that's how the roll-ups work, and so far so great. Now at this point, the roll-up sides are in, and you can see that the inflator fan has actually pulled the plastic tight as a drum. It's taken a lot of those wrinkles out along the length of the greenhouse in the upper half as opposed to the bottom half. So that inflator fan is pushing hard. If you take a little piece of wiggle wire out at far end, which I just did, you'll be able to feel that high pressure coming off the fan, meaning that there's, you know, good airflow in there and a good seal. Okay, so now I've carefully pushed the diffuser to the inside wall, and what I'm going to do is take a knife and I'm going to cut a hole in here, and then we're going to scoot it over just a little bit with our finger, pull it through these 3 slots here, and then twist it, and it'll twist lock above these 3 raised sections. So once that's in place, we'll attach our 2 tuck screws and lock in the diffuser plate. All right, now at this point, I've taken that plastic, cut a tiny hole, and the nice thing is if you cut a hole while you've got the diffuser behind it, you can't cut through both layers of the plastic, which is really dangerous. You don't want to damage the plastic on the outside of the diffuser, so or cut through the outside layer of the plastic under any circumstances. So we put the tuck screws here on the side. We've got, I cut just a little hole and then slid these long black pieces through, locked them in place, and now we're going to take that blower, and you'll see there's 4 screw holes that match up, and we'll just pop them in there, throw the nuts on that are included with it, these 4 nuts here, and lock it in place. Once we're done with that, we'll be able to inflate it, and then we're going to come back here on the outside of our greenhouse. You can see our diffuser's in place right here, where it's going to shoot air 360 degrees between the 2 layers. We're going to close our wiggle wire, pull it taut and close it, and then go from there. So that should get us going. So that's it for the video installation here. It has now been 3 years since we put our greenhouse up. It's withstood 70-mile-an-hour winds, 4-foot falls of snow within 24 hours here in Buffalo, and just about every kind of extreme condition you can imagine with no problems at all. So very, very good, very strong greenhouse. You can hang from the ceiling, from the purlins. You can hang from, heaters inside it, which we installed a couple large hot dog style heaters. And in our case, we put in misters for the summer months when it gets hot, and we have those fans pulling across, and then in the winter we close it all up. But yeah, this has been an absolutely beautiful greenhouse. If you have interest, go to GreenhouseKits1.com, talk to Sean. Thanks so much, and have a great day.